So in this last clip, I want to point out that the word hope is such a central word to Christianity. You read it a lot in the New Testament, and Jesus preached a message of hope, and he wants Christians to share that message of hope and reassurance, because a lot of Jesus, if you read Jesus' own words in the Gospels and the biographies of Jesus in the Bible, he's often talking to his own people who've been oppressed for years and can't see any way out, and he's reassuring them, you haven't been abandoned. God does care about the planet. God is doing something about it, about all these negative influences. God is reclaiming the world. Heaven and earth will eventually be joined together. And the Christian hope is about this day in the future when God will finally take his rightful rule again of the world, and God will choose to put Jesus as our leader in. Jesus is the leader of the project, but also Jesus will be kind of like a governor of this new heaven and earth joined together again when it comes to be. But the Christian hope is reassuring people that when God is ruler, everything will be right again, and God will bring about justice, because a lot of people have lived over the centuries with injustice, and that's not going to disappear overnight. But Jesus promises that when God finally sets up rule over this whole heaven and earth joined together, there will be some form of justice. There will be some form of judgment. So in a way, his message to all the people that are being oppressed in various ways in the world is be assured that in the future there will be some kind of putting right of what's happened to you. There will be some form of judgment, and this talk of judgment is often an assuring message to people that are being oppressed, and also it is a warning and it is a challenge to those of us who do oppress others, because when heaven and earth are eventually joined together, like I was saying, that Jesus' resurrection body was somehow similar to what we're used to with a human body, but different, or upgraded, or something like that, but more how God intended it to be. The Bible talks about God creating. It talks about heaven coming to earth, and it also talks about a new earth. And you might say that once heaven has fully come on earth, it will be that transformed, that thoroughly cleaned out, that thoroughly under God's rule, that it will be a new earth. It will be a renovated earth. That's why I've called it Project Renovation. And so under God's rule, there can't be anything that isn't God's rule. This joining of heaven and earth, nothing will be able to exist under it that isn't of God and isn't God's intention. A bit like you've got a really dark room, but it's a sunny day outside, and you open the curtains, and once you've opened the curtains, darkness just cannot exist, because the light just made it go away. That's one image that people might use to describe this this final sort of joining of heaven and earth together. So Christians, it's not all about beliefs, and it's not all about even doing. It's not even just about pushing this kingdom in. I think more than anything, I do believe this, more than anything, it's about Christians are called to look for signs of God's kingdom coming in, to be signs of God's kingdom coming in. Things like miracles do happen when people pray, and that is sometimes I think God, just out of grace, of things we don't deserve, just sometimes allows things to happen that give us a glimpse of this heaven and earth joined together that we're still looking forward to. And I really think central to what Christians are called to do is to reassure people, to let people know this is happening, perhaps even more so than trying to encourage people to become Christians themselves. It's to reassure people that God loves the world, that God hasn't abandoned the world, that wrongs will be put to right, that there will be judgment. Um, and to offer the same invitation that Jesus invited. That I think I'd say that I think the Bible says that one day kind of everyone will eventually live under God's rule and will see God for who He is and Jesus for who He is. But the invitation is there for people ahead of time to live under God's rule now, and in that sense, they'll start living in heaven, even while they're like living today in the 21st century on Earth. We're invited to live it in this sort of state of heaven and earth joined together and grow into it. And so a lot of the Christian message is about an invitation to join heaven and earth together ahead of time, and to join in the task of helping bring it in, and also more than anything, proclaiming it and reassuring humanity that God loves.